Hi, Joseph here, and welcome to my storybook. Today, I will read this book for the first time. I'll Whisper, The Rescue. Today, this is the part one of this book. I'm going to be reading chapter one and chapter two in this book, and I hope you're going to like it. It's going to be a long book that I ever going to read. Here you go. This is the story about the girl and the dog. Dog Whisper, The Rescue. Chapter one. Emily was drowning. It was very cold and dark. And where was she? The water was choppy and deep, and seemed to be swimming all around her. She tried to swim, but the current was too strong. Then a huge wave came rushing towards her, and she felt herself being sucked under. She fought her way back to the surface, gasping and choking and fighting for air. Okay, okay, she shouldn't panic. It would only make things worse if she panicked, even though she couldn't breathe or think, or the water was salty, very salty. Ocean water. She was somewhere in the ocean. She tried to yell for help, just as another wave washing over her, and she grumbled and mouthful of seawater. Instead, it tasted awful, and she coughed it as hard as she could, trying to spit it out. The tub was so rough that it was hard to stay afloat, and she paddled frantically, trying to keep her head above water. She knew how to swim. She was sure she knew how to swim. But for some reason, she couldn't seem to remember any of the things she had been taught. So she just dressing around wildly, hoping to find a rock or the bone or anything she could reach out and grab. How had she gotten here? Had they been out on a sailboat or one of her mother's cave rats? Her parents never let her go in the ocean by herself, even in the daytime. There was no moon, and she couldn't see any lights, so she must be way far out, alone, in the middle of the ocean. The thought of that was so scary that she screamed for help, but only managed to choke on more water. She gasped and coughed until she could breathe again, paddling frantically the entire time. Mom, she shouted, Dad, where are you? But the only thing she could hear was the pounding of the waves, and the only thing she could see was the pitch black night. She was going to drown, right here, right now. Her arms and legs were getting weaker, and she knew she was going to drown. She was so tired and scared that she wanted to give up and let herself go under, but she decided to call for them one more time and see if they could save her before Emily, Emily, a voice was saying. Her mother's voice. She wasn't alone. Emily twisted around in the water, trying to find her. There was too much water in her lungs for her to be able to speak, and she coughed violently. Her whole body convulsed with the effort. Emily, her mother said, sounding yelling. Emily, wake up. Her mother was a really good swimmer, so they would be safe. Her mother will figure it out some way too. Where's the boat? Emily gasped. Wake up, Emily. Her mother said, everything's okay. Emily looked around, trying to locate her in the dark water. But it wasn't dark, and certainly they weren't in the water. They were in her room when the light on. With the light on, her mother was sitting on the edge of the bed, looking worried and her cat, Josephine, was staring at her from on top of the dresser. Now her father was coming into the bedroom, too, looking sleepy and confused, and very uneasy on it as he fumbled to put on his glasses. What happened? He asked. What's wrong? Nothing. Her mother said clearly. Emily just had a bad dream. Everything's okay. Her father followed. Another. Were you drawing? Were you driving again? Emily still felt scared and trembling, but finally was in her room, safe indoors, night in the ocean, not lost, not alone, and most importantly, she wasn't about to drown. She shut her teeth shut, which felt dry, so she must not have been anywhere near the water, even though the dream had seemed completely real, incredibly real. I think so, she said, and coughing some more, because her lungs still felt real, congested. Her father floored again, 3 nights in a row. The nightmare had been a little bit different each time, but yeah, she had been having bad dreams for several days, and almost all of them were about drowning. It is real to have more than once, she asked, uneasily. Her mother shook her head. No, of course not. You're probably just overtired from the game. Emily was still trying to wake up, so she wasn't sure what that meant. But then she remembered she and her father had driven down to Portland to watch the Sea Dogs play, and the game had gone into extra innings. So they had gotten home much later than they had planned. Her father hated exercises of all kinds, but he loved to watch sports. Her mother, on the other hand, was surprisingly athletic, but did not enjoy being a spectator. And, you know, we ate quite a lot. Her father said thoughtfully. That was for sure. Her father had had a hot dog and lost the world, and a fish sandwich, and she'd gotten popcorn, cotton candy, some friends, some fried dogs, thought, and huge soda, and two Sea Dogs biscuits, which were ice cream sandwiches made of vanilla ice cream and chocolate chip cookies. On top of that, the team had lost after the bullpen gave up a whole bunch of runs in the 12th inning, which had made her feel kind of sick. Then, when they turned the car radio on the way back home, they found out that the Red Sox had lost too, which was always upsetting news for people who live in New England. But at least they had gotten bobbleheads. Maybe you had the nightmare because of the bullpen, her father said, and shortening a little. I know I had trouble falling asleep. Emily's mother laughed. Go back to bed, Doyle. Okay. Well, her father gave her a hug good night. Her mother went out to the bathroom and came back with a red washcloth. She sat back down on the edge of the bed and used the towel to sponge off Emily's face. Cool washcloths were her mother's cure for all illness. I don't think, I don't think I had fever, Ma said. I don't think I had a fever, Ma, Emily said, although she coughed extremely, just to make sure she wasn't sick. Her mother slumbered. Well, just in case, Josephine, who was a small, one-tailed cat, leaning nosily on the bed, when she was longer, Emily's father had read her a poem about fog, and they had lots of fog in May, coming in on little cat feet. That that might be true, but Josephine had always been really, really loud. She walked, she walked loudly, ate loudly, and poured loudly. When Emily had pointed this out to her father, he had thought for a minute and then said, "Well, that just meets her the expectation to prove the rules to bore." Anyway, Josephine sat down on the quiet, down a big lawn, and then began to wash her own face every day delicately. "I think she wants you to do it for her," Emily said. Her mother slung her. "Okay," she said, and wiped the washcloth lightly across the top of the Josephine's head. Josephine reacted with an expression of a complaint cat horror and leaping back onto the dresser to safety. That was pretty funny, and normally Emily would have laughed, but she still felt strange, confused, a little bit dizzy. "Do you think you're going to have any trouble getting back to sleep?" her mother asked. Emily looked over at the clock and saw that it was almost 3 in the morning. She knew she should be tired, but she wasn't. If anything, she felt sort of jumpy and nervous, tense, alert, wide awake. "I don't know," she said numbly. "I'm not sure. I feel well." Her mother reached down to touch her forehead with the back of the head. "Well, you don't seem to be warm." No, she felt cold, really cold, and scared, and lost, and alone, even though she was right here, at home, with her parents, and her cat, in her own bedroom. But she was still more scared than she had ever been in her whole life. And her whole life. "Are you all right?" her mother asked, because she had a nightmare while she was still awake. Because it seems that way. She certainly felt like she wasn't even inside herself, and was really, really scared. "What's wrong?" her mother asked, looking at her intentionally. Emily shook her head. "I don't know," she said, hearing her voice shake. "I think there's something wrong with me. Something bad." Chapter 2. Then, just like that, the tail went away, and Emily blinked. "What?" her mother asked, her expression still very concerned. "I don't know." Emily took a deep breath and seemed normally. She felt normal again. Her bedroom looked the way it always did, and so did everything else. None of it made any sense, and she faltered. She faltered. "I felt like I was still dreaming. Like, I don't know. I wasn't really here. It was creepy. I really think you're just overtired." Her mother said, "Should we read for a while until you're ready to go back to sleep?" As long as she could remember, she and her parents had a water of reading together, and they each took turns choosing what book they were reading next. Right now, they were in the middle of a really great book full of knights and adventures and big epic battles. "We shouldn't really do it without that, though," Emily said. "Of course, of, because, of course, the wolf whacked the water. Okay." Her mother stood up. "Why don't we go downstairs and find something to eat? Or I can fetch you some hot chocolate." "That seems like a good idea." And Emily put on some socks to use as slippers. Her mother, on the other hand, was wearing outer slippers, which were leather and black spots, and shaping like dinosaurs or maybe leopards. Emily had never been able to decide. Once they were in the kitchen, Emily sat at the table while her mother opened the refrigerator. What do you think you're like? Her mother asked. One of the managers around inside. Her mother wasn't crazy about cooking, but she enjoyed it more than Emily's father, who was from Manhattan and always wanted to get takeout, local, maybe. Or I could heat up some of the macaroni and cheese. Emily tipping back in the shell, which she completely wasn't supposed to do, so that she could see inside a bunch of blueberries and raspberries, which they had picking at her parents' friend's farm, will look like lobster salad. Luck. What was left of the lobster chicken her father had brought home from the deli. Chocolate pudding cups, eggs, lots of milk and juice, some iced tea her mother always made by putting a big glass jar out on the deck on sunny days, and a plastic container of tofu and carrot casserole, and lots of other stuff, healthy stuff, boring stuff. Please don't do that, her mother said, sharply. I don't want you to fall. Emily shaping her waist to that all four shell legs were back on the floor again. Go ahead, drumstick, please. Her mother looked startled. What? Emily pointed at the small roasted chicken. Oh, her mother gave her a strange look, but took the package out and put it on the counter. Sure, okay. Would you like a sandwich or just the drumstick? Please, Emily said. I mean, unless that was saving it or something. Her mother shook her head carefully, twist the drumstick off, and then put it on the one of the hand glazing clay plates her friend Tamara, who was an art history professor, had made. How about some toast, too? Emily nodded, feeling more and more hungry, starving. In fact, she had thought that she would be stuffing it for a week. After all the food she had eaten after all the food she had eaten at the baseball game, but it turned out that she had only been full for about 3 hours. But when her mother set the plate in front of her, Emily yeah. Then we'll put the tables together after now. Okay, here. All right, I'm gonna start this again. But when her mother set the plate in front of her, Emily looked down at the drumstick. It looked sort of the designer. Crisp brown skin, dark meat, bone. It was really gross. Why had she asked if she could have it? Her mother was just standing there, watching her. You don't want that at all, do you? She asked. Not even a little bit. Emily shook her head. I don't think so. Her mother took the plate away, moved the toast to a clean plate, and sprinkled some peanut butter on the bread before handing it to her. Emily could have sworn that she wanted some chicken. Quiet. In fact, but that was totally real because she didn't eat meat anymore. Ever. Not ever, not even bacon. Although she had to admit that it sometimes actually smelled pretty good. She had made up her mind that she wanted to be a vegan back when she was about 9 because eating animals just seemed. She had also decided that she wanted to be a veterinarian when she grew up so she could spend her life bleeping animals. She could spend her life helping animals. Actually, she loved to draw, so she kind of wanted to be an artist too. But maybe it would be possible to do both. Her parents didn't like the idea of her not eating meat because they said she was still growing and needed the protein. But in the end, her mother had talked to Emily's publication and then went out and bought about a millions vegetarian cookbooks. She had also gone over to dining service at the college. Her parents were both professionals at Boulder to discuss happy meals they could prepare. On top of that, she had even made an appointment with a notorious, and all three of them had gone and sat for an hour and a half with really tall lady who gave them lots of protocols and samples, diets, and everything. That same night, her father had carefully hung a poster of the vegetarian food framed on the wall near the counter, and both of her parents still consulted it for the for the callable minutes almost every time one of them prepared a meal for her. Her mother sat down across from her with a glass of iced tea. You know, you don't always have to be a vegetarian. If you don't want to be, you're allowed to change law. No, I still I still want to do it, Emily said quickly. I guess I just forgot. Her mother nodded. Okay, but maybe we should talk about it with Dr. Schoolboy next week. School was going to be starting soon, so she had to go for a full checkup and get ready and everything. Emily looked at her honestly. Do you think something's wrong with me? Because I've been having bad dreams and all. Of course not, her mother said. I think you're probably just nervous about junior high. It's perfectly normal. Well, she definitely was nervous about having to go to a new school. Most of the other sixth graders from her intermediate school will be there, too. But the junior high was much bigger, and there would be lots of people she didn't know. And she would have all new teachers, some who might, some who might not be nice, like in kindergarten. When her teacher met her, she had immediately asked if she might need remember Tony. Even though Emily had been reading in chapter books for almost a year by then, her parents got really mad at her switching to the other class right away. She glances at her mother. Do you and Dad have nightmares? Sure, her mother said with a slur. Sometimes everyone does, but probably not 3 days in a row. It could, mm, maybe be genetic, Emily said, avoiding her mother's eyes. Having lots of bad dreams. Well, her mother hesitated. Yes, I suppose to. I suppose it could be. Her parents were her parents, and she almost never thought about being adopted, except that sometimes she did, and they didn't talk much about the fact that she was voluntary, and her parents weren't. Her mother had blonde hair, ever, well, gradually blonde. She's still blonde, but still blonde. It totally didn't matter, and it was mostly just funny. Like when her father got in all into celebrating Kazuaza Kazuaza and everything, and she had to make him promise never to wear Nita cloth in front of her friends again. She had also told him that if he ever showed up in the Dust Canyon, she was going to run away and join the circus, or maybe get a job working for a horse farm. And her mother had laughed, but her father had just seemed disappointed about having to limit his holiday celebration. Do you have questions? Her mother asked. Her expression is very serious. Would you like to talk about it? Yes and no. Emily thought it was over and then shook her head. We can always talk about it, her mother said. Easily, wherever you want, especially if anything is bothering you. Lots of times, it felt like her parents were more comfortable talking about it than she was. Emily shook her head. No, I don't really want to right now. I mean, thank you, but no, I just think about them. Sometimes her both parents were they were. Wherever they were, her mother started to say something, but then just nodded and sipping on her tea. When Emily ate her peanut butter toast, they stayed up for a while longer and talked about what kind of new clothes she was going to need for school and whether it was possible to watch too many movies starring Julie Andrews and other relaxing things like that. But Emily was starting to get very sleepy, and they went upstairs so that they could both go back to bed. After she brushes her teeth, they discussing whether she told she was too old to be tucking in. Emily definitely thought she was, but always let her mother do it. Anyway, because she knew it made her happy. Her mother kissed her good night. Sleep well, and don't turn the light back on and read all night. Emily grandma's sleeping peasantry, since sometimes she did that and ended up falling asleep with the light on. Then, which, whichever, whichever parents came in to wake her up, the next morning would know that she had stayed awake, waiting when she was supposed to be asleep. Tonight, thought she was really tired. Josephine crawling up next to her, posing it Alaska County, and Emily patting her until she finally dropped off to sleep. Then it was Nell. She wasn't sure how much later, and it was cold, and there was water everywhere, and she couldn't breathe, and she was drowning again. That could be the end of this book on chapter 1 and chapter 2. Tomorrow, I'm going to be reading this book called chapter 3 and chapter 4 in this book. And this part 2 called Dog Whisper, The Rescue. Till then, I'm Jessica. I'll see you tomorrow, probably at 2 o'clock. Till then, take care and God bless.